So I hope you guys are having a phenomenal day. I know most likely you guys probably are still sleeping. Okay, where I'm at it is 6:52. Okay. Listen, if you are not having a phenomenal day, do understand and get your day is going to get better once your perception gets better. And I wanted to talk about this, okay? It's so funny how at times like we think we know certain things and we feel like, when somebody else is teaching us or somebody else is, saying certain things, we say, no, that's not true. Okay, that's not true. You can't do X, Y, and Z. It's against the law and all this other stuff. One, I believe the reason that we tend to disregard what someone else is saying when they are perhaps teaching, about consumer law. Okay, now I remember, okay, I had when I was doing Uber, okay, it was this passenger that I had met and she was talking to me about the Black Law Dictionary. And at that time, okay, many of you guys, if you've been following me for a minute or watching my lives, I don't really care to say following me, but watching my lives from Facebook and then me coming on to you back on YouTube. Um, I had told this story before on Facebook, okay? While I was doing Uber, it was this young lady that I had met. And she was telling me about the Black Law Dictionary. Now, I never heard of it before. And a lot of you guys know from previous videos that I wanted to become a police officer. And it's so crazy how um, you can be so misinformed, right? So me wanting to become a police officer. So some may be like, well, what does that have to do with anything? Okay. What does the Black Law Dictionary has to do with you wanting to become a police officer? What it has to do with is this. So when I met this young lady, okay, she was telling me about like how she got pulled over and she was driving with um a suspended license or no license or something like that. And she was going on and she was like, oh, did you know there's like a Black Law Dictionary? And I was like, oh, what? And she was like, a Black Law Dictionary. And she was like, in the Black Law Dictionary, basically it states it's certain laws, right, that we are protected by. And I said, what? And she was like, yeah. So one of the things that she was saying was like, and then later on, my nephew, he was, telling me and stuff like that because I never heard of this. Okay. And sometimes because you haven't heard of something, you may disregard it because everything that you have been taught, it goes against your belief system. Okay. And a belief system is something where is though it can change. Okay. A belief system is something where is though it can change. All right. And like I tell you guys, like, when I had a belief system of me not being worthy and all this other stuff, right? I had to change that belief system. And so the young lady goes on and she says, in a Black Law Dictionary, basically she was saying like black, it doesn't exist, right? Like a black person. Like it basically it doesn't exist, right? It whatever. And I said, what? Right? And she was, going on and going on. We exchanged numbers, okay? And we was talking, right? Like we would text each other and stuff like that. And I remember my nephew, okay. I was telling my nephew, like, oh, this lady, she, telling me about the Black Law Dictionary. And I had looked it up, okay. Even so much so that I had went to Barnes and Nobles, right? And I remember I asked the guy at Barnes and Nobles, I said, hey, how much is the Black Law Dictionary? And that was about like 5 years ago or something. It could have been longer. And at that time is a little book, okay, and it was $89. Okay. So I was like, God damn, $89 for this book, right? And I was like, God dog, it must be, and so it's so funny how full circle things comes back around, okay? So when I had got the download, okay, to get people out the matrix and to make videos, I did not know, and I said this before, I did not know exactly what that meant, right? But it's funny how the universe, right, could have you come in contact with people. And sometimes you may be like, why did I come in contact with this person? Like, I asked that, okay, now maybe you don't ask that, but I asked like, why did I come in contact with this person? Why, what was the benefit of me coming in contact with this person, right? And so full circle, okay. So that was years ago, okay, when I met the passenger, right? While I was doing Uber. Then I kept on seeing this guy on Instagram. Now I barely be on Instagram, and I can say this is like the only reason I have the app on my Instagram is because this guy teachings, right? Everything that we have been programmed to believe, it is an absolute a lot of this stuff is jealous, okay? Meaning that a lot of the stuff is wrong. And you can be caught up in saying, no, this is the way my grandmama, my granddaddy did it. They've been doing it for so long, and whatever it is like that. And you could really actually believe that this is the right way. You need to really be questioning your reality. Okay. I'm gonna say that again. You really need to question your reality. When I used to have that epiphany, and I would go in the bathroom and I would say, I know I did not come here to work and pay bills. It was something that did not sit well with me. It was something that didn't make sense because I said, damn, you mean to tell me? Okay, and at that time I was believing in the God up in the sky, okay. Thinking that the creator just put me here, and but something just didn't seem right, because and this was before I had my spiritual awakening. I just knew that things did not seem right. It didn't sit well with my soul. I mean, my spirit. It's just something didn't seem. It seemed off. And that's what I mean when I say question your reality. So getting back to it. So I had a good friend of mine, okay, whose mother-in-law, okay, well, it used to be her mother-in-law because she was married to the lady son, but it's her daughter's father, grandmother. And I remember the daughter's father, grandmother is a real estate agent. And I remember my apartment that I stay in now, right? It was another person who was purchasing the apartment, like the guy who owned this property. Okay, I'm gonna just give you some of the backstory. So when I moved here, okay, I've been here for about six years. Okay, going on 6 years or 6.5 years, something like that. And I remember the first guy, the previous owner who had owned this property, he had he was selling the property. Now, when he was selling a property, I did not know, okay, that his ideal was for me to be out of the property because He just was like, he was selling a property, and then he was having people to come to look at the apartment that I'm in. And I didn't understand it. So this goes back to consumer law, okay? So I did not understand it. Like, why was the people coming to look at the apartment where I live? But one of the things I said, well, because he's selling a property. But that wasn't it, okay? So he was selling a property, but he also, his plan was to have me added a unit, right? And I didn't understand. Like, I'm like, damn, why? You know, Section 8, you get your money from Section 8, okay, every month, okay? And the property, I'll make sure that the property, you know, stay clean and, you know, all these different things, right? And so I had a good friend who daughters, her daughters grandmother is a real estate agent. So I, you know, at this time I was, because at that time I only been in a property, I think for a year, or was it 2 years? Probably 2 years. And I was like, damn, man, I gotta find another, I gotta move again. I don't, you know, some people may believe in moving every, you know, but this is my second apartment. My first apartment I stayed in 10 years, and then this apartment I've been at 6 years, okay? So my good friend, she said, well, Dina, you know, your security deposit is supposed to be in an account, right? Where as it gains interest. And I said, "What?" Right? Now, she's a dear friend to me. So I know she's not going to, you know, steer me in the wrong direction. As many times I went to her to get the note, you know, that you write for school so your children can be exempt from getting the shots, okay? Exempt from school, well, be exempt from getting the shots, and you know how they send the letters and stuff like that. And at that time, at one point, once upon a time, I also used to look down on parents who didn't get their babies, you know, vaccinated. Because I used to say, what in the world? You know, I know somebody who child went, like, you know, a certain amount of years, and then the baby wasn't vaccinated, and at that time she's so uninformed, right? You could be thinking like, no, this is the way I've been brought up, this is the way. But as you start, all of this really started, I'm gonna get back to that. But you can be so misinformed, and you can be thinking like, oh, well, this is the right way because, you know, my mother been doing it for so long, my grandmother been doing it for so long, and this is just the way things are supposed to be. But at the same time, your life is goddamn chaotic, okay? At the same time, things are not working out for you, okay? And how could you tell? Because you could go back and you could start seeing like, damn, your life is chaotic, okay? And take ownership and say, you know what, my life is chaotic, but I know I can do something different about this. And you may not even know what the hell the difference is, but honey, it will come to you. So, anywho, even with the whole vaccination and, you know, things like that with the shots and stuff like that. So, this dear friend of mine, she had told me, you know, what letters and stuff to write. And it's so funny how the universe will have you connecting with people, okay, and certain books. A book that I had talked about highly and on this platform is We Are Not the Same. And in that book, okay, a part of me wants to get the book and show you guys. One second. We gotta watch those. And you can't don't do that again, Jada. With them clothes. You hear me? Yeah. Oh, and Mr. Wally died. You want to go to his funeral? Yeah, the gym teacher. His funeral is the 21st of this month. I think it's Monday. You want to go? It's in the morning. No, it's day is morning time. All right, so hopefully you guys didn't leave. Okay, I wanted to get the book for you guys to, so maybe this will do something for you. Okay, I don't know, right? But this is the book. Okay, and as we are not the same. In this book, it talks about vaccinations. It talks about, the foods that we tend to eat, how it affects our body, how it affects our minds. It has so much information in here. Okay, again. Okay. So my good friend, she was saying, she said, yeah, security deposit is supposed to be in in a separate account, right? And I said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, yes, your security deposit, the money that you gave is supposed to be in an account." Okay? And I said, "Now remember, the guy who owned this property, the previous owner, he was trying to have me he was selling a property and he wanted me to leave, but the guys downstairs, since they from the same country and stuff like that, they was gonna stay in their apartment. And because I just was thinking, I was like, this guy is selling a property, whatever, but I didn't know he had, something in it for me. Okay. And like I said, I was just thinking like, I'm on Section 8. He's getting his money every month from Section 8. And I keep, not the, well to be, okay. Pat myself on the back. I keep my apartment very, very clean, okay. And so I didn't understand it, right? And so I said, damn, I've been here for 2 years now. I gotta move again. So when my friend told me, she said, your security deposit is supposed to be in a separate account, collecting interest. Now, maybe the interest was going to be small. I don't know. But what I did was I sent the previous owner a message, right? And because I was going back and forth with him, like, why we gotta move and all this other stuff. Okay, Dina, you gotta move because he said you gotta move. This is his property, okay? And so I sent him another message, and the message went something like this. Hey, I'm just curious about the security deposit that you collected. Um, where did that go? Like, because it's supposed to have collected interest. Okay. And basically he didn't really have much to say about it, right? And I just said what my homegirl, she said, your security deposit is supposed to be collecting interest. And I just, I say, you know what? Let me tell him this, okay? Because maybe he was as uninformed as I am, okay? And so the next minute I noticed, I was able to, like, I'm still here, okay? Now I don't know if that had anything to do with me bringing up the security deposit or whatever it is, and why it don't have interest or whatever. Um, but full circle. So that was, if I've been here for 6 years, that was 4 years ago. Okay, yeah, 4 years ago, and comes back around, right? That same exact thing came back around. So listen, I'm just fairly getting into consumer law. Okay. Now I know there's a lot of people that says consumer law don't work, is scamming, and all these different things, and stuff like that. Which I don't know, how could the consumer law, could you be scamming? I'm quite sure, I guess there's people out there that do it, but um I always move with integrity, and that's why, I said I'm gonna go over this stuff. But it's so funny that you can be thinking like, oh well, things are supposed to be like this and whatever. But what it really is, so your security deposit, once, from my understanding, now you guys put in the chat box or whatever it is, but from my understanding, okay, your security deposit is supposed to, well, when a landlord take the application, okay, and you fill it out, and they say supposedly it's going for a background check to see, if you qualified for the apartment or whatever it is like that. Once they run that security, right? I've been taking notes too. So once they run your social security, I did not know that that is like collateral, right? That application that you done filled out and attached their social security number and stuff like that. That is like really collateral. But once they fill their application, once they run their application or whatever it is like that, and once you fill their application and everything out, it's supposed to, and you move into the property and stuff, and they collect the security. It's supposed to go into a security bearing account, okay? Meaning that it start collecting interest, okay? And I don't know which, a part of me is like, well, if you're an owner, a property owner, you should know this, right? And then sometimes you're like, well, I don't want to, because maybe they just didn't know. But I feel as though, like I said, um, making videos till I'm relatively famous. Yeah, I mean, I always say make sure you do your own due diligence, your own research, because, like I said before, you could really feel like the way you live in, like you could be like, well, I'm living this way, and, things isn't working out for me. Um, it can be because maybe, okay. It can be because maybe you're not reading. I told you guys I had an ex of mine who used to, try to make fun of me and used to say, "Go read a book, go read a book," and I used to think reading the books was kryptonite. Okay, I used to be like, he trying to be funny and all this other stuff. And now I have a closet of 2 tiers with books, okay, filled with books. And I had to start getting in the habit of reading, okay. But the consumer law, it can be it's like it can be the verbiage is very different. I was looking up words, honey, because I was like, what the hell does this mean? Okay. But the more you give something energy, right, the more you will start understanding it because you giving that thing energy. Remember, what you give energy to, it grows. Okay. And it was just so many moments where as though whether somebody was telling me about the Black Law Dictionary, okay, your rights about, if you get pulled over by a police officer and, certain things, you say, and they not informed at neither. Okay. A lot of this stuff is, you know, just uninformed. Okay. You uninformed, they uninformed, and, and that's where reading really comes in at. I remember this all puts me in the mind of that song that Kanye West did. And he was like, like he was saying about the contracts and stuff like that. And he was basically saying like, can't read, right? It kind of put me in the mind of that because it's so true, right? Like even back in slavery, which slavery is still going on. But even back then, okay, um, you was told, I guess, the ancestors was told that they couldn't read, but the phenomenal thing and the funny thing is, what's your excuse now, right? My excuse was, oh, I'm not reading because, what's the use? Like, a lot of times we think, oh, because I finished college or I finished school, then the education, it stops, which actually education is derived, is Latin, and it actually means to bring out, okay, whatever you have within you to bring out, right? And I had got that from the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So my whole thing is this, okay? Are you questioning your reality? Are you questioning your reality? Because if you just going along with this system and just feel like, well, this is just the way things supposed to be. If you feel like, oh, well, you just supposed to, go through life just suffering, okay? It can be maybe because you misinformed, okay? Uninformed, all right? And so I also heard this. All readers are not leaders, but all leaders are readers. Okay, let me say it again. All leaders, all readers are not leaders, but all readers are leaders. Okay, all right, okay. So do understand that although, it may be kryptonite, like I felt, books are kryptonite, okay? Until I started overstanding, okay, and understanding that it can be something in a book that could have you questioning your whole goddamn reality, okay? And even this book, okay, we not the same. All right. I told you guys, for so long I thought that vaccinations and, stuff, oh well, that's good. My children, they gotta be vaccinated, whatever. Then you do what works for you. Okay. But that's what I thought, okay. Until I started understanding the is it the Tuskegee, I think, experiment, like with the syphilis and stuff like that, like the Tuskegee, let me see, experiment, where as though, like, all those men who had got vaccinated to discover that they was being experimented on, and they actually had syphilis in the vaccination. Okay, um, so yeah, so you do your own research, and never take anything for face value. What I say, okay, um, because you're supposed to be thinking on your own, critical thinking. You're supposed to be doing thinking and questioning. You know, why do you come up with that conclusion, right? Because some people say, well, that's wrong, that's not right, that's not the way. Okay, well, hey, your way is the way. Okay, and one of the ways that I know whenever I'm doing something different, the evidence that you could always come up with or see if is actually the way, right? Because remember this, in this here universe, there is no right or wrong, okay? And the reason I say that is because of this. Your right, it can be somebody else's wrong, and your wrong can be somebody else's right, okay? Um, is all according to perception, okay? Now somebody can say, this person is wrong because they stealing, okay? They be stealing from the supermarket. I'm not condoning stealing, okay? Um, but say for instance is a child, right? That's 7 years old, okay? The adult's supposed to be watching, okay? And the child is going days hungry, okay? And goes to the supermarket to get some bread and start eating the bread, okay? Because the child is hungry. Now somebody else can say, well, that is wrong because that child he has no right or she has no right to be stealing, okay? And then somebody else could come along and say, well, where was the adults? This the adult's supposed to be guiding this child, having supervision over this child. Where was the adults? And so they may be like, well, they could kind of understand like why the child, did it or whatever it is. So when I say somebody else's right can be, you can say is wrong, okay? And somebody else's wrong can be, you can say, oh, that's right, okay? So it all goes back to pay attention to your goddamn life, okay? And see what is going on in your life, okay? And instead of you judging and saying, well, these people, they shouldn't do this, you don't have no right, okay, to say what people should and should not do, all right? As long as you are being holier than thou, okay? No, but serious. As long as you paying attention to your life, you never know why people do some of the things that they do. And I'm not saying it's not for me to judge anyone, okay? Although my ego sometimes want to go there, but it's not for me to judge anyone because I don't know why people do what the hell they do, okay? They could have grown up and been taught, stealing. And then somebody may say, well, why the hell they keep on stealing? Okay. And you don't understand it, right? You don't understand like why they keep on stealing. And then somebody else, the person could say, well, when I was a kid, my mama taught me, that in order for me to have, I need to steal. Okay. And then somebody could say, but yeah, but you're a grown ass person right now. You responsible for what you do. You grown. Okay. And as very well so is the case. And somebody can say, well, can't you see from you stealing, you're going to keep going to jail, right? And that person may be like, yeah, I'm going to stop. They may really say they going to stop. But every time a situation comes along, they start stealing again. And you may be like, well, I thought you said you was going to stop, right? Is because they program it. And I'm not saying like, that is okay or whatever it is like that. And I'm not saying, do what works for you. But life is also reflecting back to you what is working and what is not working. And so you would have to look at your life and say, is this working for me? Okay. This belief system that I done adopted, is this working for me? And if it's not working for you, then you have to do something completely different. Okay. But the choice is yours. And also remember this, just because we have free will, okay, it does not exempt us from the laws of this here universe. Okay, so let me say it again. Okay, just because we have free will, it does not exempt us from the laws of this here universe. So just because you doing certain things and you don't know, right, because of ignorance, and we all ignorant, okay, because nobody knows everything, okay, so we all ignorant. I used to think that was like, ooh, calling me ignorant, right? But we all, because we don't know everything, okay, this avatar, okay, but the higher self, it, okay, but anywho, so we all are ignorant. But you can say, well, I've been doing this for so long. Okay. I never was taught this. Okay. Like the Black Law Dictionary. Okay. I never heard nobody tell me that until that young lady got in my car. Now, some people could have been heard that ever since they was children. But I never heard that. And so when she told me it, okay, and by the way, I deleted her number and stuff because, my nephew, okay, although he was, like saying, yeah, what she's saying is true. And then when she would send me a message, I would tell my nephew, like, oh, yeah, and what about this? She's saying X, Y, and Z. And then my nephew would say, she could be an agent. And I said, an agent? And, I started thinking about the Matrix, right? Like, the agents and he said she could be an agent. And so I said, an agent? Okay. All right. Although he was saying, like, what she was saying, it was true. But then he gonna tell me, I guess, because questioning his goddamn reality. And he gonna say she could be an agent. And I said, an agent? Oh, no. Can't be talking to her. I got to let her go. Okay. Not, and only to start realizing, from the guy, I think his name is Mansi, Mansi, Mans, Mazi, or something like that. He's on Instagram. But I said no, she got to go, okay? Because honey, if she an agent, okay, she got to go. But then I started doing some research and some digging, okay. And this is okay. Let me see. Even far as putting money down on a vehicle, okay? I did not know that when you go to a dealership, it's not supposed to be a down payment. Even far as mortgages, okay, it's not supposed to be a down payment involved with financing, okay? And I had wrote that law down somewhere. Um, uh, let's see. Is it 12 USC 16 something, or is it 14? But you could look it up, okay, because it's everywhere, okay? It's on TikTok, okay, because I said, you know what, let me see if this is true. And then on the Bill of Rights, okay, with the consumer credit, okay, consumer credit, it talks about like when you go to purchase a vehicle, you're not supposed to be putting a down payment. A down payment, no cash supposed to be involved with that transaction. It is actually against the law. But I know, right? A lot of people say, no, nope, that's not true. That's not true because, I've been doing this and the dealership always asks me. And, I've been just because somebody asks you, that does not mean it's right. Okay, that does not mean that it's right. Okay, and just because we've been doing it for so long, it does not mean that it's right. Okay, and that's why it's very important to read the fine print. Okay, and I used to just be signing shit. Okay, I was one of them people. I just used to be signing. Okay, signing whatever documents away. Okay, but with that being said, family, I got to go. Okay, I got to get my youngest children ready for school. 7:32. Make sure you guys rocking out, believing in yourselves, and with that being said, peace.